Going through a divorce in New York can seriously feel like you're trying to solve a puzzle, but you've lost the picture on the box. So, in this explainer, we're going to lay out all the pieces for you step by step to give you a clear roadmap from the very beginning right to the final signature. Let's dive in. First up, we'll look at the two very different roads a divorce can take. Then, we'll walk through how to actually get the ball rolling and the really important financial protections that kick in the second you do. From there, we'll demystify the math behind spousal support and figure out what it really means to divide assets fairly. We'll finish up by looking at how most cases actually get resolved and what those final, super important legal documents really do. You know, when you hear the word divorce, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's probably some big, dramatic courtroom showdown, like something you'd see in a movie. But is that really what happens? How much of that is just Hollywood fiction?
Well, the reality is pretty much the exact opposite of all of that drama. Get this. A staggering 95 to 98% of divorce cases in New York, even the ones that start out with a lot of disagreement, end up settling before they ever see the inside of a courtroom for a trial. This is maybe the most important thing to get your head around. The trial is the absolute last resort. It's not the main event.
So, right at the beginning, every divorce comes to a fork in the road. And the choice you make here, the path you go down, pretty much shapes the entire experience. Let's break down these two options. On one side, you've got an uncontested divorce. This is the fast track, really. It's when both people are on the same page about all the big issues. Property, kids, you name it. It's mostly just about getting the paperwork right. But on the other side, you have a contested divorce. And that's what happens when you disagree on even just one thing. This path means the court gets involved, there are judges and deadlines, and you guessed it, that usually means a lot more time and a lot more money.
Okay, so no matter which path it looks like you're heading down, the whole thing has to start somewhere. So let's look at the actual nuts and bolts of how you officially kick off a divorce case in New York. It all begins when one person, the plaintiff, files the first round of papers with the county clerk. That's step one. For step two, that person then has 120 days to serve those papers on their spouse. And this is a really big deal. It has to be done by the book. Once that's done, the other spouse, the defendant, has about 20 days to file their response. If they don't, they could be in default.
Now, this is one of the most important things to know. The second those papers are filed, something called automatic orders kicks in. You can think of it like hitting a giant financial pause button on your marriage. It means neither person can just go out and sell the house, empty the bank accounts, take out huge loans, or cancel the other person's health insurance. It's a built-in safety net to keep the financial situation stable while everything gets worked out.
All right, let's tackle one of the biggest financial pieces of a divorce, spousal support. You might know it by its older name, alimony. This is a topic that's really changed a lot in New York over the last few years. So the official legal term here is spousal maintenance. And here's the key thing you need to know. Since 2016, it's not just about a judge deciding what one person needs and what the other can afford. Now, the starting point for everything is a very specific mathematical formula that's written right into the law. But hold on, it's not just about the math. While that formula gives us a baseline number, a judge can still tweak that amount. They do this by looking at a list of 15 different factors. We're talking about things like how long you were married, your age and health, your earning potential, and if one person gave up a career to raise the family. So the formula gives you the starting point, but these factors make sure the final result is actually fair. So what does this formula actually look like? Well, assuming there's no child support involved, the court does two different calculations. The first one takes 30% of the higher earner's income and subtracts 20% of the lower earner's income. The second calculation takes 40% of your combined income and subtracts the lower earner's income from that. Then the rule is simple. The court uses whichever of those two results is the lower number. That becomes the guideline amount for support. Next up, how in the world do you start to untangle a financial life that's been woven together for years? This brings us to dividing up property and debt, which in New York is all about a core idea called equitable distribution. So before you can divide a single thing, you have to sort it into two piles. The first pile is marital property. Basically, this is everything you or your spouse acquired from the day you got married until the day the divorce action was started. This is the stuff that's up for grabs. The second pile is separate property. That's stuff you owned before the wedding, or personal inheritance, or a gift that was meant just for you. As a general rule, that property stays yours.
And here is the most important word in this whole discussion: equitable. Now listen closely, because equitable does not mean equal. It does not mean 50-50. The law in New York doesn't just cut everything down the middle. Instead, a judge looks at all the circumstances of the marriage to figure out a division that is fair, which could be 50-50 or could be something totally different. So when we talk about this marital estate, what are we even talking about? It's so much more than just the house. You have to picture it like a big pie made up of everything you've built together: the equity in your home, the retirement funds, any savings and investments, even cars and other valuable property. This whole pie is what needs to be divided equitably. Remember how we started this by busting that myth about constant courtroom battles? So if most divorces don't end in a trial, how do they actually get across the finish line?
Well, for those contested cases, there is a formal court process. It really kicks into gear when a request for judicial intervention, or RJI, is filed. That gets you a judge. Within 45 days, you have a preliminary conference to set all the deadlines. Then you enter the discovery phase, which is all about exchanging financial information. And if you still can't agree after all that, the case starts moving toward a potential trial.
But even with that whole court structure in place, the truth is, the vast majority of cases get resolved somewhere along that path. Lawyers negotiate back and forth, couples sit down with a neutral mediator, or they use something called collaborative law. The point is, these options give you more control, and they are almost always faster and way less expensive than letting a judge make the final call at a trial.
Okay, so once you've finally worked everything out, whether through talking with your lawyers or getting a decision from the court, the entire process comes down to two final, incredibly powerful documents. The first one is called the separation agreement. I want you to think of this as the master rulebook for your new separate lives. It's a detailed contract that has every single thing you've agreed on written down: who gets what bank account, what the parenting plan is, exactly how much support will be paid. It is the complete blueprint for your settlement.
And the second document is the judgment of divorce. This is the one that makes it all official. It's the order signed by a judge that legally ends your marriage. This document basically takes your separation agreement, that rule book you wrote, and turns it into a legally binding and enforceable court order. This is the piece of paper that makes it all law.
Look, the legal road can seem really complicated, but once you know the map, the journey becomes so much more manageable. At the end of the day, this whole process is just a tool, right? It's a tool designed to help people move on. And as one person put it perfectly, the real shame isn't getting a divorce. It's staying stuck somewhere when you know deep down that it's over.